And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at Chaosmos. This is a game as the universe ends, the hunt begins. You're hunting for an ovoid, or something or other. Now, just as a heads up, this is a game that I did a paid preview for, I think a year and a half ago or so. That doesn't affect my opinion, but that's just so you know. This is a game of capture the flag, or keep away, with a big space theme and a dollop of chaos thrown in. Let me show you. The board is set up fairly randomly here, where you have different planets. Each player is going to start with their alien on a planet. You'll notice that the aliens have all sorts of cool, weird-looking alien things, and each player has a card which shows their alien, and it also gives you a very specific alien power. It shows your home planet, and it shows a planet you're not allowed to land on because it's hazardous to you. There's also a place to have 3 hyper tokens here. You can use these over the course of the game to jump to a place where you want to go, so if you need to go around quickly. So you can see there's lots of different aliens that you can pick from. So players are going to pick from those aliens. They're also going to get a little envelope here. It's more of a boxed envelope, and in this envelope they're going to have some cards that they're going to place in this envelope from a deck. Now, the whole point of this game is to find the ovoid. This is the thing that's going to save the universe or destroy it or whatever. I don't know. It's a MacGuffin. But this card is going to be somewhere on the board. It's either going to start with a player, and it's either going to be in their hand or in that player's envelope, or it's going to start in one of the other planets that players are not using. Each of those planets is going to be placed in this box of envelopes, and there's going to be some cards placed in each of those boxes. So the ovoid is somewhere out there. Now, the game is going to take place over multiple turns. You're going to keep track of those turns. A player will take his turn and then kind of tick down this counter here. You can play with 48 turns, or you can play with 36. Play with 36. All right, so after your turn is over, you kind of tick this down, and when it gets here, whoever has the ovoid is the winner. Now, on a player's turn, they have 3 actions. Actions are pretty simple. You can move, so you can like move to a dot between 2 planets, or you can land on the planet. And if you land on the planet, you control that planet if no one else is on that planet. And then whenever you leave a planet, you leave control of that, so you put that envelope back in the case. When you get to a new planet, you'll open it up and see what the cards are inside that planet. Now, sometimes there might be a vault in a planet. Someone will leave a vault there, and you can look at the cards there, but you can't take them unless you have a key. Other times, someone can leave a trap in a vault. So when you open this up, okay, the first person who controls this is banished home, so they're sent back to their home planet. So there can be different traps and things on a planet, but usually there's cards, and then you can exchange some of the cards from your hand with some of the cards on a planet. So you can hide the ovoid on the planet, or if you find it, put it in your hand. You know, there's different things that you can do as you move around. If someone else is on the planet, you can attack them. Attacking someone allows you to steal cards from them, which again could be the ovoid. When you attack players, you're going to be rolling dice here. These dice here have different numbers on them, 2, 3, 5, and then they show this egg here. I think that's the egg of, it's a mirror. So that basically just copies your other die. So a 5 and a mirror would be that. And if you roll double mirrors, that's infinity. Isn't that cool? You put them together like that, and you automatically win the battle. However, usually players will roll their dice to see who wins, and then they're going to start playing cards from their hand. They'll play different weapons, like this primitive weapon here, the War Cudgel, or advanced weapons, or maybe even one-time use weapons that will be discarded after the end of the battle. And these will add to their side, and whoever wins then gets to steal cards from the opponent, and that's where you go for their ovoid and stuff. Controlling a planet is an action, by the way, so you can move to a planet, but then you have to control it and look through the cards. And attacking is an action also. You can't go to every planet. You can go to most of them, but there's one planet that's hazardous to you. But you can get Enviro Gear cards that you can show to say, hey, I can go to a specific planet. And there's all sorts of other special cards, like this one here lets me move up to 4 spaces when I play it. Or I can place a base here, which kind of defends a planet for me when other players get to it. But that's really the gist of the game. Now, the gist of the game kind of is about your special powers. Like this guy here can open envelopes secretly, and he can go through vaults without a key. This guy here, you win only if everyone else loses. The ovoid has to be in no one's hand. This guy here can move 2 spaces for an action. This guy here can take cards from the void that are single-use cards. By the way, there's a cosmic pool over here, which are cards that you can take. You can grab these cards as an action when you're at your home planet, and then there's the void where you throw cards away. So that guy can take cards from the void. This guy here can always travel back to their home planet, and it's free for them to go to their home planet. This guy starts the game with the ovoid, so players know he has it. This guy here can re-roll dice in combat, and if it's a tie, they win. This guy here can look at someone else's hand, so he can try to figure out where the ovoid is. This guy here, when he takes spoils, beats someone else, he can take an extra card from that person. This guy has a bigger hand limit, but he can't play advanced weapons. So there's multiple special abilities that you have, and you have to utilize them. And again, when time's up, whoever has the ovoid is the winner. You can also play with 2 ovoids in the game, the dark ovoid. When you do that, you also put this card, one of these cards in the deck. There's a cipher. One of them says the dark ovoid is real. The other one says the ovoid is real. So you're going to play the game, and at the end of the game, you'll reveal who has each of these cards, and then finding out which one of the cards is the real one, and that player is the winner. Chaosmos has the word chaos in the cover, and that's certainly true in the game. You have different special powers. You have all kinds of crazy cards. Things are going to be happening in the game. Despite all that, or maybe even because of it, I like it. I like the whole idea of finding that. It's a whole king of the hill, capture the flag. He has the ovoid, get him! And you can watch, because as the game goes by, you're trying to figure out where the ovoid is. Unless, of course, you have it. The ovoid is going to be somewhere on the table or in someone's hand. So at first, you watch how other players go. When players go to a planet, they're going to leave a little marker of that player's color on the planet. And that's not to show control. It's to show that they were there. So I can say, okay, Sam was at that planet, that planet, that planet. So if he had the ovoid, maybe he left it on one of those. And at the end of the game, he's going to run and grab and pick it up. And maybe he put it in a vault, you know. So how are we going to get that out of there? If I see 2 players attack each other, I'm like, are they just fighting? Or does one know the other one has the ovoid? I enjoy that kind of, I mean, it's not great. You know, after a while, I'd say usually most games in the last 15 turns or so, everybody knows where the ovoid is, or at least who had it at one point, and people are running for it. Speaking of that, I mentioned the 48 turns, 36 turns. Definitely do the 36 turns. 48 is just a little bit too long, for my opinion. 36, let's say you're playing 4 players. Each player gets 9 turns. That's plenty over the course of this game. The game looks good. The miniatures are good quality. The artwork is very alien-ish. Brings back a lot of, you know, cosmic encounter vibe to it. The game is silly-ish too. At the same time, it's not dark, which is good. The game is slightly... what's the word? Unrefined, I think might be it, because there's clunkiness in a few things in combat, and combat's neat and playing the cards and everything, but there's sometimes it doesn't feel like a smooth, polished game, but that can be charming in its own right sometimes, and I think that works for this game. There's nothing like this game out there that I can think of. You're putting cards and hiding them in vaults and traps and moving around the board, and it's not a very difficult game, and you may not have to fight very much in the game. Sometimes there'll be more fighting than not, and you have to utilize your special power to its max ability. I almost always will play with the dark ovoid just because there's 2 ovoids floating around, and there's another card that tells you which ovoid's real, so there's 3 cards. You need to find out which ovoid's the right one, then where that one is. To me, that adds a lot more jazz to the game, and so that's the way I'll play it. But there's randomness, setting up the planets in different ways, where the cards will be. Very enjoyable game, good production values. I like it. That's Chaosmos. Dice Tower Judgment, approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.